Hi, coaches. Welcome back to Big Rule the World. Today, a special little one-off. We finished our college football playoff series on Tuesday with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Today, we're talking about the Buffalo Bulls, outside Bills, and how to have a successful offensive line. Really, when we graded them out, we did our rankings based on yards per carry and sacks given up per dropback. Well, when you don't give up a sack, okay, and you head into your bowl game having not given up a sack all year, it's kind of easy to be in number one in the sacks given up per dropback. The Bulls finished off number one in yards per carry for a long time. Their tailback was number one in yards per game. And it's not a triple option offense, averaging 43.43 points per game. Kind of a little wide open there on the MAC. So why did the Bulls win our line of the year? Well, first, it builds off of 2019. If you look back, I looked at some season previews. You probably wouldn't have thought the Bulls, who were led by a great defense in 2019, and struggled to really they were trying to find new identity in tailback and quarterback in 2019. So what's that lead to in 2020? Experience. They have youth. They have everything coming back. And they talk about in 2019, one of their strong points being that offensive line up front. So you're bringing back in a very heavy group you're bringing back in a very heavy group when it comes to leadership, when it comes to experience, when it comes to just playing time, guys, just having time together. And you're going to see that when we break down their offensive line. Okay? So all that's coming off and building off of a 2019. Now, let's look into the offensive line. Let's look into the unit and what they did necessarily to be successful. Okay, what made them successful? No sacks allowed all season. All right? How do you get to the point where you have no sacks allowed all season? This isn't just an offensive line thing. It's a schematic thing that we can do in our offenses, and that's my point to you this whole time with the best guys build around their talent. There is no one true system where you go, this system's going to work every single time. They built a system around a young signal caller and what he needed to be successful, whether that's 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, and developing patterns that can be protected, okay? My head coach likes to talk all the time about one very successful school that he worked at. All their routes sometimes on different passing concepts were minimum 15 yards. So they were pass blocking in practice for a minimum 10, 11 seconds. You don't have to put your offensive lineman in that position all the time. Work around your talent. If your talent gives you 3-step protection, do it. Okay? If your talent's better getting run over slowly, do it. Okay? No sacks allowed. Big thing in being successful in the passing game. It's part of passing efficiency. Led the nation in rushing with over 340 yards per game. Not an option team. You don't have to be an option team. You just have to know what your identity is and get big with it. Whether it's an inside zone team, gap team, if it's a little combination of both, zone and gap, you have to just work with it. Buffalo was one of the few teams adding in BYU and Coastal Carolina, but you probably heard a lot more about BYU and Coastal Carolina that got nominated for the Joe Moore Award, one of the few group of 5 schools who get nominated for Offensive Line of the Year. They win our Offensive Line of the Year, but I don't think they're really, listing out Big Rule of the World being their Offensive Line of the Year, putting that trophy up in their case. Jared Patterson, their tailback. Okay, leads the nation with over 200 yards per game. They know when and how to get him the ball appropriately. Okay, scheming for your talent. Okay, I'm breaking down how you build your O-line. Okay, so I have 2 first-team seniors, 2 first-team guys, a senior and a sophomore. The only sophomore who plays is a first-team offensive lineman. Okay, we talked about 3-6-5 guys, but you also have a 6'2 guy, a 6'3 guy, all heavy up front. Okay, you don't need to necessarily, if you talk about the number one O-line, you're probably thinking, minimum 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" road graders. No, not necessarily. I think it's all built on having that experience together, being able to build from within. That's what their big thing was going into 2019 and in 2020, was that experience up front. And that's what you see there with 3 seniors and a junior. Experience playing with one another. Okay? So the biggest takeaways, they built young with that offensive line. If you have a young group on that offensive line now that you can work with, do it. Joe Daniel talks all the time about when he first got to Amelia County, school out near where we are. Get on Joe Daniel Football, not a sponsor. When we first got to Amelia County, he built it with sophomore and freshman offensive linemen. By the time they were seniors, Amelia was one of the top teams in the state. Go figure. They built young. They developed around your talent and adapt. Okay? The best thing about Buffalo, when I'm reading previews of Lance Leipold, their coach from last year, going over to Kansas, Lance Leipold, big D3 guy, I always support D3 guys. He develops talent, whether it's passing, running. We're going to build off the defense this year, and he adjusts his offense to fit his scheme. What a novel idea for all you steam heads who love to just think the scheme's going to work. We adjust our talent and then find cohesiveness in that line. That's why I say build young, because you can build relationships. If you build old, then you're constantly finding new relationships, okay? So don't be afraid to start that young guy on the offensive line. Now, I know this was a nice little one. Take a look at the Buffalo Bulls, see what their offensive line was like. Next week, we go into the NFL. And then before we get into our deep dive on the spread offense, guys, which I'm excited about, I'm going to have a few episodes on just off-season training because I think you guys are dying for them. So we're going to do the next 4 episodes breaking down the Bills, the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Buccaneers, and just how their offenses ran and what we can learn from them. And then we're going on with a little off-season development and then the history of the spread. All right, guys. See you next time.